There are mornings when the world feels heavier than it should, when the quiet of the early hours carries thoughts that did not fully rest during the night, and the mind begins to move before the heart has had time to settle. And in those moments, it becomes clear how much we need something steady, something beyond our own strength, something that does not shift with circumstances or emotions. And that is often where faith begins again, not as a loud declaration, but as a quiet returning, a soft leaning back into the presence of God who has never moved, even when we felt distant. And sometimes it is not even a dramatic struggle, but a quiet weight that sits within us, something we cannot fully explain, a mix of thoughts, responsibilities, and expectations that slowly build over time, and we carry them into the morning without realizing how much they have affected us, until we pause long enough to feel it, until we allow ourselves to notice that something within us is tired and in need of rest that sleep alone cannot give. Because life does not always unfold in ways we understand, and protection is not always about visible danger, but often about the unseen things that weigh on the soul, the worries that linger quietly, the fears that do not always have a name, the pressure of responsibility, the uncertainty of what lies ahead, and the quiet realization that we cannot carry all of this on our own, no matter how strong we try to be. And so we begin to understand that protection is not just about being kept safe from harm, but about being held, guided, and sustained in ways that go deeper than what the eyes can see, in ways that reach into the inner parts of us where strength is not always visible but deeply needed, where God meets us not in perfection, but in honesty. Scripture gently reminds us of this truth, not in a forceful way, but in a way that invites trust, as it says in Psalm 91, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." And there is something deeply comforting in that image, the idea of dwelling, of remaining, of not rushing in and out of God's presence, but choosing to stay there, to rest there, to live there. Because the shadow of the Almighty is not a place of fear, but a place of covering, a place where the soul can breathe again without striving, where the pressure to control everything slowly fades, and where we begin to remember that we were never meant to carry life alone, but to walk in quiet dependence on a God who is already holding all things together. And in another place, in Book of Isaiah, it is written, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you." And this does not promise that there will be no waters, no trials, no moments of uncertainty, but it speaks of a presence that does not leave, a closeness that remains even when everything else feels unstable. It reminds us that protection is not always the removal of difficulty, but the assurance that we will not be overcome by it, that there is a hand holding us even when we cannot see it clearly, that there is a quiet strength surrounding us even when we feel weak, and that even in uncertainty, we are not abandoned. So this morning is not about trying to force peace or pretend that everything is perfect, but about coming honestly before God, just as we are, with all that we carry, and allowing His presence to meet us there, slowly, gently, without pressure, without performance, just a conversation, just a prayer, just a quiet moment of trust. Father, as this morning begins, I come before you without trying to hide anything, without trying to shape myself into something I am not, but simply as I am, aware of my need for you, aware of how much I rely on your presence even in ways I do not always recognize. And I ask that you would meet me here in this moment, not in a distant or abstract way, but in a real and personal way that my heart can feel and understand. Lord. You see everything that lies ahead of this day, every conversation, every responsibility, every moment that will unfold whether I expect it or not. And I do not know all that is coming, but you do. And that alone is a comfort I hold on to, because it reminds me that I do not walk blindly into this day, but I walk with you, guided by a wisdom that is far beyond my own understanding. Father, I ask for your protection, not only in the physical sense, though I trust you with that as well, but in the deeper places of my life, in my thoughts, in my emotions, in my reactions, in the quiet spaces where fear and doubt can sometimes take root, in the places where I feel most vulnerable and unsure. Protect my mind from anxiety that overwhelms. Protect my heart from discouragement that lingers. Protect my spirit from anything that tries to pull me away from your truth. And gently bring me back whenever I begin to drift. Not with pressure, but with patience. Lord, teach me what it means to dwell in your presence, not just to visit it when I feel overwhelmed, but to remain there, to live from that place of closeness with you, where I am not striving to control everything, but learning to trust you more deeply with each passing moment, even in the small, ordinary parts of the day. Help me to remember, Father, that your protection is not fragile. It does not depend on my strength or my ability to hold everything together, but it rests on your faithfulness, and you are unchanging, steady, and true, even when everything around me feels uncertain. Even when I feel uncertain, you are not uncertain. Even when I feel weak, you are not weak, and that gives me a kind of peace that I cannot create on my own. A quiet confidence that settles deep within me and remains even when emotions shift. Lord, guard my steps today, guide my decisions, and keep me from paths that lead to harm, whether seen or unseen. And if I begin to move in a direction that is not right for me, gently redirect me, not with fear, but with clarity, not with confusion, but with quiet conviction that brings me back to where I need to be. Father, I place my fears before you, even the ones I do not fully understand, the quiet worries that sit beneath the surface, the thoughts that come uninvited, the concerns about the future, about health, about stability, about things that feel uncertain, and I choose, even if slowly, to release them into your hands. And even if part of me still tries to hold on, even if I return to those fears again later, remind me gently that I can give them back to you again and again, because you do not grow tired of receiving what I struggle to carry. Lord, as Psalm 91 speaks of your covering, I ask that you would surround me with that presence today, that wherever I go, I would carry a sense of being held, not in a way that isolates me from the world, but in a way that gives me strength within it. Help me, Father, to walk with awareness, not just of my surroundings, but of your presence, to pause when I need to breathe when I feel overwhelmed, to remember that I am not carrying this day by myself, and that I do not have to prove anything to be held by you. Lord, protect my relationships today. Guard my words so that I speak with kindness and truth, not out of impulse or frustration, but with intention. And if I find myself in difficult conversations or moments of tension, give me the patience to respond with grace rather than react with emotion, and help me to listen as well as I speak. Father, I ask for protection over my body, over my health, over every part of me that sustains life, and I trust that you are present even there, in the unseen processes, in the quiet workings that I do not think about, but rely on every moment. Lord. Protect me from harm that I cannot see, from situations that could lead to danger, from distractions that could pull me away from what matters, and guide me with a steady hand so that I remain on a path that leads to peace and not to unnecessary struggle. Teach me, Father, to recognize your voice in the midst of noise, to discern what is from you and what is not, and to follow that guidance even when it requires trust, even when it requires letting go of control, even when it feels unfamiliar. Lord, I do not ask for a day without challenge, because I know that life does not work that way. But I ask for a day where I am anchored in you, where no matter what comes, I remain steady, not because of my own strength, but because I am leaning on yours, Father. Remind me throughout this day that your presence is constant, not something that comes and goes based on how I feel, but something that remains even in silence, even in stillness, even when I am not actively thinking about it. Help me to return to that awareness again and again, to pause in the middle of busy moments and remember that I am held, that I am guided, that I am not alone, and that nothing I face today is beyond your reach. And in those small pauses, in those quiet moments, let me feel your peace in a way that grounds me, in a way that gently resets my heart and mind, bringing me back to a place of calm and trust. Lord, I place this day in your hands, every hour, every moment, every step, and I trust that your protection is not something I have to earn, but something you give out of your love, freely and faithfully, again and again. And as this morning continues, I choose to move forward with a quiet confidence, not loud or forced, but steady and real, knowing that I am covered, knowing that I am seen, knowing that I am guided, even when I do not fully understand the path ahead. Father, thank you for this new beginning, for the gift of another day, for the opportunity to walk with you again, and I ask that you would keep me close, not because I hold on to you perfectly, but because you hold on to me without fail. And as this prayer gently comes to a close, I rest in the peace that you are already present in everything that lies ahead. And that is enough, more than enough, to move forward with trust, step by step. If this moment brought you a sense of calm or clarity, you can carry it with you, return to it throughout the day, or even share it quietly with someone who might need the same peace, not as an obligation, but as a simple act of care.